Hello and welcome back to another episode of Secret Level, a GeekTyrant production. I am your host, Joey Parr, editor-in-chief of GeekTyrant.com, and I am joined by Billy Fisher. Say hi, Billy.
Hi, everyone.
This is episode 2, and we are going to continue our conversation of Steven Spielberg's classic film, E.T., the Extra-Terrestrial. In the first episode, we talked about the forgotten BMX biker boys of E.T. They were the stunt kids. They weren't credited. Poor guys. But we're going to continue our discussion on E.T. because there's more cool stuff that we want to talk about.
Right. And that's kind of the gist of our podcast here. We're trying to get to the stuff that not everybody knows about. We really wanted to focus on the biker boys. We did that. Now it's time to talk about the other weird things that happened on E.T.
And there were some really fun and weird, interesting, hidden gems that maybe you've heard before, maybe you haven't. We're going to share a couple of deleted scenes. Maybe you've seen one of them. The other one has never been released, and we probably will never see it because it is just too damn weird.
Absolutely. It's even weirder to describe it. So let's start with the one that everybody knows, and then we'll get to the one that no one knows about.
Well, unless you've really dug into the background of E.T., you may have heard about it. So, Billy, what is something that you want to talk about this week? Have you discovered something new or interesting that you want to discuss before we dive into some more E.T. greatness?
Yeah, okay, so I don't know. A lot of people, you're getting used to what Joey and I are into. I do a lot of reading. It's just what I do. And if I'm not reading, I'm listening to audiobooks, and I'm re-listening to the Rivers of London series by Ben Aronovich. It is probably one of the most intriguing stories, well thought out characters. I started it again because I was reading an article saying that Simon Pegg and Nick Frost picked up the rights to the books to make them into either a series or a movie. I'm really excited. So if you guys get bored, want something new in your lives, definitely check out the Rivers of London series. I don't want to give anything away because I know I would, but definitely check it out by Ben Aronovich. Read it, listen to it. It's all fun. Joe, anything from you? What's keeping you busy?
I am still on St. Elsewhere, my friend. I am blazing through it.
That's
so
awesome.
I just have to bring up a couple things. One,
do it.
Denzel Washington with a mustache? Nah. I'm not into Denzel's 80s mustache. 2, Michael Richards showed up.
No.
Yeah.
I don't remember that. So is he like an actual character? Is it a one-time deal?
He's an actual character. He has a little story arc over the course of a few episodes. And I was just like, okay, this is interesting. And he totally is not the Michael Richards that we know now. It's kind of, he plays like a filmmaker, director, kind of Hollywood type guy.
So it's Kramer in Hollywood.
But no, he's plays it so straight laced. It's not it's not funny. It's not funny at all. And then
yes,
there's an episode where most of the episode takes place in Cheers. And Carla is there. What? Yes. It is the weirdest damn thing. I was like, you had three of the main doctors meeting at Cheers. Norm is there. Cliff is there. They show up to talk to the doctors and stuff. Norm has a connection with one of them because he apparently Norm screwed up some taxes of one of the doctors. And Cliff comes up at some point and is starts acting like he knows everything about medical, starts spitting out medical jargon, gibberish to the doctors. And I'm like, this is the weirdest damn episode so far.
Man, when
I was
crossovers go bad.
They're in Cheers. And everyone is there. Sam and Coach weren't there, but everyone else was there. That was so funny and strange. But the crazy thing is you had you had Cheers and you had the characters acting like their characters,
Right.
but the doctors were 100% playing it straight serious. Like they were there to talk about serious shit. And you've got the comedy going on with Carla and and everyone else, but then you just with these guys, it's like with the doctors, it's just straight seriousness to the extreme. And so
Okay, tell me this.
it was really strange, but fun.
Was there a laugh track in it?
No, no, there's no laugh track. And they filmed it differently. You know how Cheers had certain aspects of filming?
Right, right, right. You
So
see it from certain angles at all
yeah,
times.
yeah, yeah. It with this, they filmed it like would film Saint Elsewhere. So when Norm comes in, it's like a steady cam shot of Norm walking through the door like this. It's really jarring because you're like, this isn't Cheers, but it is.
I'm totally gonna look this up.
You have to. Very interesting. I think I'm probably going to end up talking about this until I'm finished with it.
You're gonna have to. It's the episode inside the episode. We're gonna talk about Saint Elsewhere as well as other subjects.
Yes.
I like it.
No, right.
Nice.
I'm glad you're on board with this.
Oh man, after hearing this, Michael Richards, Cheers. We need to know more.
Don't forget
Take
Denzel's
notes.
mustache.
Denzel's mustache. We're going to make a T-shirt about that. Just wait. It's all coming to life.
But yeah, so that's what I got.
All right, let's continue to talk about some ET. What do you say?
Let's do it. Yeah.
I like that. All right, buddy.
Anyway, first one we're going to talk about is Harrison Ford's deleted scene. Because yes, Harrison Ford was in a cut of ET, or one scene that never made it into the cut of ET. And the other one is a very strange and pervy scene involving ET and Elliot's mom. Yeah,
Yeah.
good times. So we're gonna start with these deleted scenes, and then we're gonna move into some other information that we found and just kind of have fun. So let's jump right into it. Billy, do you remember
Sir.
Harrison's Ford deleted scene? Have you ever seen it?
Yeah, and I'm glad it was not in the movie. It didn't fit. It just didn't. It kind of slowed down the flow of what the movie was all about.
It was a super awkward scene, and it was really weird because it did not fit the tone of the film at all.
At
It
all.
it's almost like this from a separate movie. It's like a film noir, dark detective like scene in this office where the lighting is just like coming through the shades of the window, and everything is just super dark. Like if I ever walked into a principal's office, because Harrison Ford played the principal in the scene, and he's kind of chastising Elliot for setting all the frogs loose and kissing a girl. And the girl he kissed actually ended up growing up to become actress on Baywatch.
Right. And see, and this is where I kind of feel the disconnect in this. So he goes from setting all the frogs free because he's having that mind meld with ET. ET and Elliot are on the same page,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
So all of a sudden he feels brave. He lets all the frogs out. He kisses Eleniak. We're debating on this on the pronunciation, but goes from that, and then if it would have flowed like they originally planned, it would have gone to this Harrison Ford scene, which would have just put the brakes on everything.
That scene is online. You can find it and watch it if you've never seen it, just so you could get an idea of what we're talking about. But one of the things about the scene that was cool for Henry Thomas is Harrison Ford, Indiana Jones, Han Solo. This is like, this is an actor he's always wanted to meet. So for him, being able to meet Harrison Ford was a cool experience.
It would be like if I got to meet Harrison Ford right now. I mean, meeting Harrison Ford is like one of the top 10 things I want to do in my life. So for Henry Thomas, that's a good thing because that was like one of the first things he asked Spielberg when he got the job is, do I get to meet Harrison
Harrison
Ford?
Ford.
So I mean, so it worked out for him. He got to meet him and got to do this little scene for him. But it also worked out for us that it was not in the movie.
Well, the reason they wanted to get Harrison Ford in the film in the first place, one, because he's Harrison Ford, but two, Spielberg thought it would be fun for him to play a Gitz type, so a role that he hadn't played before, uptight, condescending, scolding Elliot, like scolding a kid. You just it's a different kind of role for Ford. But
At
again,
the time, yeah, it was different.
it
It just didn't play like it should have.
it is just weird. I mean, if you watch the scene, there's like because ET's at home during the scene and he's levitating stuff, and so that's all affecting Elliot in the principal's office. At one point, Elliot's in the chair and it's like floating up the side of a wall. And
Yeah. It's just
and Harrison Ford's just kind of looking out the window, giving this long, drawn out speech.
yeah. It's definitely weird. It's worth checking out. But yeah, it's telling Elliot to basically it's a hard world out there and you need to learn discipline and yada 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 all the time, all the while he's
Yeah,
floating up in
talking
the
about
chair.
he talked about the boys, like he's being his own worst enemy kind of stuff. Like, dang, dude, he's just like a kid, man.
Right. But yeah, thankfully they had enough foresight to see that that was not necessary for the movie.
Yeah, but it was definitely an odd scene. It didn't really add anything to the film. It makes sense that Spielberg in the end just cut it because it was more of a distraction than anything. Even Spielberg said in an interview with Entertainment Weekly, Spielberg said basically that's the scene where Henry got a chance to meet Harrison. Like they filmed that scene so that Henry Thomas could meet Harrison Ford. That's kind of the only reason why they did it. And it's funny because when they asked Thomas like what it was like to meet him at the time, he's like, "Oh yeah, that was a very big day for me. It was huge." And they asked, "So what does a boy say when he gets to work alongside his hero?" And Thomas is like, "You you don't end up saying anything." So he's sitting there doing this whole scene with Harrison Ford, and they never really talked outside of that.
Yeah, but when you're his age, I mean, what are you really going to say to your hero? You know what I mean?
I would have asked him to take me on one of his adventures because I probably would have believed that he was Indiana Jones in real life.
I can see that. He is the only person that could really play Indiana Jones anyway.
Like I knew like Star Wars wasn't real, but yeah, Indiana Jones was real.
Absolutely. I'm on board.
Does that make any sense? Probably not.
Yep.
We're now going to move on to the scene we've been teasing. That crazy, insane, weird, deleted scene involving E.T. and Elliot's mom. I didn't even know that this existed until I started doing research. I've gone all these years without knowing about this scene. So this was new to me. Now, was it new to you or did you know this, Bill?
Oh, I had absolutely no idea. When you and I first started talking about it and you pulled this up, I thought you were just pulling my leg because it didn't seem like it could be real. Like,
It
why would you put this scene in a movie like E.T.?
okay, so here we go. I'm just gonna explain what happened. So E.T., it's at night. Elliot's mom is asleep in her bed. Okay. E.T. comes in her room and lays some Reese's pieces as a little present on her bedside. All right. And E.T. comes in, he's wearing this checkered sports jacket, and Elliot's mom is asleep under the sheet. And I guess like there was skin showing, like her back was showing when E.T. came in. And E.T. Oh, okay. So D. Wallace said Stephen and I had quite a conversation because he wanted the sheet down a lot lower than I wanted it. So Spielberg wanted to pull the sheet down on D. Wallace lower than she was comfortable with. And
I
then
have no words. I have no
so
words.
so The screenwriter, Melissa Matheson, said that Spielberg had her be half naked. She had to take her top off. And she explained it was the most bizarre scene because it was like E.T. the voyeur. And she's lying face down, and E.T. pulls up the sheet off of her, and he's going, huh, huh, uh,
I just like that they set it up. He comes in, gives it a little payment of Reese's Pieces, wearing his best jacket,
and I'm
making
like,
the
what
sexiest
is,
noises.
I kind of want to know what those noises from E.T. sounded like just because I'm curious. But
I hope they
the
do.
Matheson said that she had nothing to do with this scene. She didn't write it in the script. This is something that Spielberg just wanted to throw in there for what she calls, and I quote, a boy's moment.
Yeah. I mean, Spielberg had a thing with women and no bras in his movies. I mean, it was a thing back then. I guess late 70s, early 80s. You had to have a scene where something like that's happening. I'm just glad it wasn't actually in ET.
I, you know, the scene, I could see obviously why that they didn't use it, but I'm curious to see it. I don't think we'll ever see the light of day in this scene. The dailies have probably been destroyed, but
We can only hope.
maybe one day they'll come out with a ET special feature 40th anniversary with the surprise deleted scene on it. I don't know. I haven't been able to find it online, and I've heard it's not out there. It's one of those things that you won't be able to find
Right.
unless you're Spielberg, who probably has it somewhere in storage.
I,
I don't even know.
I hope not.
Maybe
It would be
Universal
funny
has
to
it
hear
in
his
storage.
noises.
But that is, yeah, man. I don't even know if I was a kid. Like we've talked about before, how much we loved this movie, how magical it was for us. Seeing a scene like this, what would that have been like for you as a little kid? Would you even know? I don't even know if we would have understood what was really happening. Now I can look back and, even when I was a kid, and I watched the movie, there were things that just went over my head. And it wasn't until I watched it again growing up, where I was older and understood some of the things that were going on, that some of the jokes, some of the dialogue, some of the situations that were in the film really I understood them. It wasn't until I was older that I understood certain things. And some of those things you're just like, whoa, okay. Even like the penis breath thing that we talked about before in the last episode.
Yeah, it never made any sense to me before, but then as I got older, it did. It would have been one of those scenes that parents would have been very uncomfortable to show their kids.
Oh yeah,
It would
for
have been
sure.
really cool up until that point, and then parents would have been like, hey, Tommy, look the other way, please."
And sometimes there are films from the 80s that you rewatch and they have those weird scenes in them, right? Like
Mhm.
I've showed my kids certain movies from the 80s, and there's things that pop up where I'm like, holy shit, I do not remember that.
See, okay, so as an example, when Bill and Ted's 3 was coming out, my kids were like, "We need to watch that movie. That looks great." So I was like, "Okay, well, let me go show you Excellent Adventure and
Bogus
Bogus
Journey.
Shot."
Bogus
Bogus.
Journey.
We went through both of them, and both times I was like, I totally forgot that scene was in there, or like, what number am I thinking about? 69, dudes. My two oldest kids looked at me and go, "What does that mean?" I mean, I'll tell you when you're older. I mean, those things were slipped in there. I'm glad this didn't make it in there because it would have definitely, like the Harrison Ford scene, it would have just completely taken you away from the fantasy.
Yeah.
You know?
You don't want to see this adorably ugly alien looking at Elliot's mom like that.
But yeah, but I'm glad it wasn't in there. Thank goodness the common sense came through and said, yeah, we don't need that.
Yeah. So that was good.
Man. Yeah. It's funny to talk about now, but yeah, it would have totally ruined it if it was in there.
Do you think it would have ruined the movie for you?
I think it would have made me take pause showing it to my kids. Because right now I could show that movie and not be worried about it to my 5-year-old, and he's not going to pick up anything too awfully bad.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I know him for a fact. He would ask me questions. What's ET doing? Why is he doing that? Tell Elliot's mom. Yeah, not cool.
All right. All right. So we're gonna
Yep.
move on to some other little tidbits that we found out about the film, just some little trivia facts that you may not have heard before.
Right, they're definitely gonna make you cool at parties.
Yeah. And who doesn't want to be cool at parties? Actually, there was one thing that that I did know, but I completely forgot about until
What's that?
I started digging into ET again after all these years. So ET was played by a couple different people. Like there was the animatronic ET, but then there were scenes where ET actually had people as puppeteers, I guess. They had a 2 foot tall stuntman who appeared as ET in certain scenes.
Mhm.
And they also had a 10-year-old boy who was born without legs, who was an expert on walking on his hands in the ET costume, in the ET suit.
Just it's
So,
straight up trip.
yeah, lucky kid though, man, to be able to be in a movie, right?
Right, and get credited for it.
Thanks. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So the kid's name was Matthew Demerit. He did most of the athletic scenes with ET in the suits, and he would go around on the set on a skateboard on his hands. Like he was going around on the set using a skateboard, skating around on his hands.
That's cool.
In interviews, the cast said he was just a fun guy to be around. And I think it was Dee Wallace talked about the scene in the kitchen when she's putting away the groceries and ET is
Mhm.
walking around behind her. That was the kid. That was Matthew. He was turned upside down in the suit, walking on his hands. That's how they did it. How did he see? I don't even know.
And that's what I was trying to figure out. After you told me about this, I went and watched because the 2 scenes that they talk mainly that Matthew Demerit was in was that one and the one where he's drunk in the kitchen waddling around.
Yeah.
And
So he had to act drunk on his hands upside down in the
right.
suit.
And it worked perfectly. It was amazing. Like, you wouldn't know it just based on seeing him and what he was doing before. You wouldn't know that that was some kid walking on his hands in there. But it's cool. He did it really well.
Henry Thomas talked about what it was like to act against the mechanical version of ET.
Right.
Uh, he said is that the eyes were just so detailed that he could imagine ET just being a real thing, like being alive. And he said, like when he was acting against the people with wearing the suits, he goes, the eyes looked ridiculously fake. That was his quote, ridiculously fake. And he explained when you're looking at a plastic head on a dwarf and you can hear somebody breathing inside and cursing, it's a little bit more difficult to believe.
Right. Which is true. I mean, there are certain aspects of ET when they were making the film that kind of weirded out everybody. If you watch the movie, Drew Barrymore at one point looks down and says, "I don't like his feet."
Yeah.
That's not in the script. She just when he's the animatronic ET, they have all these wires and cables going into his feet that are going up his body and making his face do the facial movements and all that. And Henry Thomas quick hit her back with feet or feet twerps or twerp or something like that. It's like, luckily he saved the scene, but yeah, it's like, they all have issues. They all wanted to believe that it was real.
Yeah. And
I mean,
Barrymore has said in interviews that she treated ET like he was alive. So she would bring him lunch. She would put covers around him if it was cold on set. Like she treated him like he was alive. she knew that she goes, at 6 years old, yeah, I knew it was fake, but I treated him like he was a real person, a real alien.
Right. And I think that's what it's been widely known that Steven Spielberg filmed the movie in chronological order so that the kids could feel as the movie goes on, you could see their love for the character grow. And then when the final scene finally happens, you truly watch the kids' hearts break knowing that their friend is leaving, which I thought was genius. It was absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it's not
I
it's
still
not
can't stop
easy.
myself from crying.
Yeah, it's not easy to film a whole movie in chronological order, but Spielberg did it for the effect that it would have on the kids as they got to know each other, got to know the character of ET and stuff like that. But yeah, that I think that definitely played a huge role in the power of the ending of that film between Elliot, his siblings, and ET when he left.
So whatever he did, however he made it, that was exactly how it should have been made because it's still touching
It
people's hearts
yeah,
to this day.
ET really is kind of a perfect film, I think.
It's one of them.
And the way Spielberg shot it, another one of the things that Spielberg did as a storytelling technique is he shot most of the film from the eye level of a kid. That that way it was further connect with Elliot and ET. No adult faces are shown until the last half of the film, except for Elliot's mom. But through the whole film, if you watch and notice, you don't see any faces. Like even when we talked about Harrison Ford earlier, they never showed Ford's face. He was just
Right.
from the chest down or just drenched in shadow. But we never saw Ford's face in that deleted scene. And we never saw anyone's face up until near the end of the film, which I
Yeah, I
thought
think it
was
started.
fascinating.
Yeah,
A
it
great
is
storytelling, great way to tell a story for sure.
absolutely.
And the other thing too, regarding Elliot's mom and the reason why they showed Spielberg allowed Elliot's mom's face to be shown is because he wanted to portray her as one of the kids. Is that right?
That's right. I mean, Spielberg looked at her as still having the belief of a child. Like she wanted to believe that there's something out there. So she was always included in the group. When it came to taking Gertie out to with the kids, she didn't question it. She was like, "Yeah, we have to do this." So that's why she was always on the same level as the kids in this.
And I like that. Because as an adult myself now, I still like to grasp on to the childlike things that childlike wonder. Like that's one thing I really miss about being a kid is that awe and wonder, and you start to lose that obviously when you get older and life starts to beat you down and things start happening in life and all of a sudden you have a job and you're paying bills and
And,
and the world just
her
gets
character had a hard
and
time.
her character had a hard time. So holding on to that wonder is hard. And for me, I've always tried to hold on to it.
Absolutely.
It's one of the things because it's one of the things that keeps me sane with all the stuff I've gone through in my life. And I've gone through a lot that
We all
yeah, everyone goes through hard times. Everyone has their own issues. I can only speak for myself, but holding on to that childlike wonder is what helped me get through a lot of difficult times in my life. And I like
yeah,
that
and
and I like that Spielberg kind of played with that in this film.
exactly.
I don't know if you knew this or not, but the original script for ET was much different than the one that we got.
Okay.
And it was actually a much, much darker film. Did you know that?
I, I I heard rumors. I don't know what the truth is on it though. I heard killer aliens and things of that sort. But yeah, so
Yes,
let me know.
that is true. There is a script out there that followed a family that was terrorized in their house by aliens.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Okay.
So when Spielberg started developing E.T., he decided that he wanted to go with a more family friendly alien movie. The concept, the original concept he had for E.T.
Uh-huh.
is the concept that ended up in Poltergeist, but instead of aliens, they used poltergeists.
So one is one of my favorite heartwarming films of all times. The other one still gives me nightmares to this day.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
gotcha.
thought that was awesome, though. I
Yeah,
thought
that's crazy.
I thought it was really cool that to find that the original story for E.T. ended up becoming Poltergeist, but without the aliens. I
Right.
mean, if you watch Poltergeist now, you could see the alien influence. While Poltergeist was ghosts, you still have like the weird TV stuff going on. And, aliens could control TV, pull you into portals and stuff like
Right.
that, right? So there's all these elements that could have easily been transferred out for aliens instead of poltergeists if they needed to. So now, my challenge to you and all of our listeners is next time you watch Poltergeist, just think that ET like aliens are behind everything that's happening.
Don't do this to me. Don't ruin this for me. We are going to hit Poltergeist. Joey and I still put it at the top of the horror film.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
We're,
Poltergeist
we're
is
getting
coming.
there.
It's going to
Not
happen.
now, but soon. We're going to get there.
And
Any other crazy facts?
yeah. So in the film's novelization, we learn that ET is over 10 million years old.
That's old.
Yeah, that is one crazy ass old alien. You'd think that he could have in that time come up with the technology to have his alien family beam him up, like Greg
Right.
suggested.
Greg always knew what he's talking about.
Greg,
I'm telling you.
10 million years old, the technology would be there to beam someone up, I'm pretty sure. If
Absolutely.
Star Trek could do it, if Star Trek could do it, ET could do it.
Right.
Oh, and it's also explained that ET was actually a plant-like creature
Okay.
that was neither male nor female.
That is
just
crazy.
an alien existence.
Well, I mean, okay, I know this is getting a little bit too detailed, but it's something that in my research for this, I found out that if you look at his ship, once it's coming back to pick him up, there's water and barnacles on the bottom, kind of
Are there
indicating
really?
that they're, yes, if you look at it while it's landing, you can see it. I was tripping out on it. So apparently, not only is he a plant-like creature, but he comes from a planet of water. Maybe it's kind of Earth-like, maybe it's Earth in the future kind of thing, but it is a water-based planet wherever they're coming.
Are there really barnacles on there?
There-
I honestly have never looked that closely. I didn't see anything when I was doing research, but that's
Yeah.
crazy. That's awesome.
Yeah, watch it next time. Anytime you guys watch it, you'll see when they're all out in the forest waiting for the spaceship to land. As it's landing, you see water dripping off the bottom of it, and there's little barnacles up underneath. It's crazy. The attention to detail is crazy, and it's never mentioned, but it's there.
Wow.
Yeah.
All these years, all the times I've watched this movie, I've never noticed that.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That's awesome.
You guys can prove me wrong, but I read it
Yeah.
and I went and looked, and you can see it. It's crazy.
Well, there you go. Well,
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to check that out.
Do it. Get to the chopper.
Now, let me ask you this, Billy.
Yeah, go.
What were your thoughts on E.T.'s voice in the film? I'll be right. I can't do it. Can you do it?
No, I can't do it. No, it's crazy. It's
I'll be right here. That's
Yeah.
the best I got, guys. I'm sorry.
I like it. That's funny that you should ask, because I always just thought that's just ET's voice. That's just how an alien would sound. Trying to sound like us.
I just thought they got some voice actor to do it, but that's not the case at all.
What happened?
Well,
Ah,
they they cast
Sorry, dude.
an elderly woman from
Oh,
Marin County, California, to voice
Okay.
the character. Her name was Pat Welsh. Welsh smoked 2 packs of cigarettes a day,
Whoa.
and that gave her the voice quality that Steven Spielberg was looking for, and special effects sound creator Ben Burt liked to provide the voice of E.T. They needed an old woman who had just smoked up her whole life to
That's
get
great.
that perfect E.T. voice. So,
That's crazy.
so E.T. is an elderly woman who smoked 2 packs a day. That's how they got that voice. She did 9.5 hours of recording for her part. And she only got paid $380 for her work.
What?
I mean, okay, 9 hours, that's a day's worth of work, right?
Right.
So is $380 that bad? But like at the same time, it's like, man, you just voiced E.T. and you only made $380 for bringing life to this iconic character.
Right.
I don't even know.
Uh,
Like my mind is just bleh over it. It's weird. It's weird for me to think. I feel like she got stiffed.
right. Well, she's in the
Just
same
as
boat as
just as bad as the
biker boy.
yeah, just as bad as the BMX stunt bikers.
Right? She could walk around and be like, I was the voice of E.T. And then be like, no, Mark, shut up.
Like, yeah, right. No, for real. I'll be right. Yeah. I can't do the voice.
Look, I smoke 2 packs of cigarettes a day.
I just thought
Okay.
that was hilarious that the person who voiced E.T. was an elderly woman who smoked 2 packs a day. Like,
Yeah.
it's almost like, one, how did they find her?
Right.
I couldn't I
That's true.
couldn't find out how they actually found this woman. I looked, but
Right.
I couldn't find any details on it.
Right.
But I would love
I
to know how they found this woman and what
I
her
don't
life
have
was like
much.
at the time. I assume she's probably dead by now.
Oh, yeah, probably. But I mean, that's just cool, man. I mean, she could always say, that was me. I did that anytime that movie came on.
Well, she could
That's
prove it
cool.
too with with her voice. She would be able
Right.
to prove it where the biker boys couldn't really prove that thing. So
No. No. But good for her. Yeah, that's really cool. That's weird. Like blew my mind. Like when I found out Roz from Monsters Inc. was really a guy. I was like, no way. But that's cool. Cool little information.
yeah, yeah, for sure. And we've already kind of talked about the products of ET and how they just exploded, right? How
Right.
everything that was in ET kind of just blew up. And happened with BMX bikes, happened with all of the toys, the merch from the film.
Uh-huh.
And it also happened with Reese's Pieces.
Oh yeah, man.
Reese's, right?
Yeah. I mean they're
Yeah, he
they're pretty much
introduced me to
themselves.
Reese's Pieces.
Yeah, absolutely.
Before the movie, I never ate Reese's Pieces.
Nope.
It wasn't until after I'm like, I need to get some Reese's Pieces in my life because that looked like pretty damn good candy.
Right. And
Yeah.
that's the thing too, is it was a plot point in the movie.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody knew what Reese's Pieces were, at least by the end of the movie.
The crazy thing is, they didn't go to Reese's at first. They
Oh,
went
really?
no, they went to M&M. They went to M&M, asked M&M if they wanted to be part of the movie. M&M is owned by the Mars Company, and they denied the request to be in the film. The Mars Company turned them down.
Right.
No, we don't want our product in your movie. Off with you.
I mean, it was like the guy providing the Kurihara bikes. He gave the bikes without knowing if this movie was going to take off or not, with the hopes of it, being a hit. M&M's decided that was too much of a risk, I guess. So Reese's got the tap. They came out, and everybody loves Reese.
Yeah, as a direct result from Reese's being put in the movie, their sales skyrocketed. And because of that, more and more companies started requesting that their products be used in movies. Because of Reese's success with ET, that spawned product placement in movies. Everybody wanted to put their products in movies. That was like, this movie was like the birth of product placement, basically. Because before that, no one cared. No one thought of it. And then Eminem just kicking themselves in the ass.
Oh,
'Cause
I'm sure.
'cause they turned it down. I still, it's almost like that whole thing when Blockbuster turned down to buy Netflix.
How I miss Blockbuster, man. What I wouldn't give to be able to go to the store right now and just rent some old cheesy movie that I can't find.
What did Blockbuster give to still be in business right now?
Hey, man, they are. There's one store left
There is
in
one.
Alaska.
That is true. That is true.
Yeah. Man, we spent way too much time at Blockbuster when we were young.
We did. Yeah, just, well, Billy and I, we grew up together. And so when we were in high school, we did spend lots and lots of time at Blockbuster Video. We would go in and just rent anything we could find. We'd mostly
Anything we
go
have
to the
seen.
we would mostly go to the horror section, and
Yep.
we'd be like, "Huh, this packaging looks jacked up. Let's watch this one."
There are many things that I cannot erase from my mind.
There's, dude, the memories of some of these films are. One in particular is still seared in my brain, and I think it really messed me up.
What's that?
I can't even remember the name of the film.
But this leads in perfectly to the next thing, the Nocturnal Fears section.
Oh yeah, go for it.
So, in our constant hunt for the most scary movie that we could find, we could have found the sequel to E.T. in that section. Yeah, there was a concept, like a sequel that Steven Spielberg and Melissa Matheson came up with, where the second E.T. would be called Nocturnal Fears. The concept
Well,
basically was,
Right.
yep, Elliot and his friends get kidnapped by aliens, and E.T. and his group, his people, would try to get them back and basically start a war in space. And then we'd find out what E.T.'s name would be. I don't know.
What?
Drum roll if I had it.
Yeah, drum roll.
E.T.'s name, we'd find out that his name was Zrek. Z-R-E-C-K. Zrek.
Zrek.
That is not as cool as E.T.
Very close to Shrek.
Right. That's all that comes to my mind when I say it.
I know.
But yeah, luckily that sequel never happened. I think it would have kind of
No,
taken away a little
no.
of the...
I want to see that sequel, Billy. I would have wanted to see that sequel.
Okay.
I would
I
have
mean,
wanted to see that sequel as a kid. As a kid.
as a kid, yes. Okay, yeah, to see
Think
an
about-
army of E.T.
Yeah, so think about
like
this.
creatures.
As a kid, if that movie would have come out a few years later, we would have seen an E.T. sequel.
I
We
would...
would have been like, hell yeah, we're going to this movie, Mom and Dad.
E.T.'s gonna kick some ass. Let's go.
And we
Hell-
probably, as kids, would have loved it just as much as we loved the original. And we probably speak as fondly of it now as we do E.T. because we'd have that nostalgic attachment to it.
Good point.
Whereas now we look back at the idea and we're just like, huh.
We're jaded. We're super jaded. We've been burned too many times by sequels. So yeah, I think I'm coming from a stance of sequels don't always pan out the way you want them to.
But as a kid, we didn't care. We weren't
heck no.
jaded. We just wanted to see more ET.
Right?
And I would have
It's kind of like...
gladly loved to see more ET in a sequel.
Right. It's like my desire for a sequel to Monster Squad. I've always wanted one. Never got one.
We almost got the sequel series. That close. That close.
We're going to get to that. But Monster Squad that's the epitome of cool. All
Are
right.
there any other details on that sequel?
That's all I know for right now. That they were going to fight, and that there was going to be, a fight for Elliot's life, and that was it. That's all I can remember.
Man, I'm gonna have to look into that more. That's one aspect of the film that I didn't look into. I wish I would have.
Right. Well, I think we've covered a lot of the things that we needed to cover in this.
So that's pretty much what we found on ET. These are all of the ET details that we wanted to talk about, discuss with you guys. The next episode, we are going to be talking about another favorite film. This one is so wild. I don't remember it being as wild when I first saw it as a kid, but when I saw it as an adult, I just was just like, what the hell is this awesomeness of insanity? Terry Gilliam's Time Bandits. Oh, I love this movie so much. I love it.
Bandit.
I don't even care what anyone says. I know there's like people that don't like it. I know there's a certain group of people that don't care for Time Bandits, but damn, that was a fun freaking movie. One of the most fun films I remember as a kid. Just ate everything about it up.
And that's the great part about the movie. You hit the nail right on the head. As a kid, Time Bandits was a completely different movie to me than what it is now.
Yeah.
Now it's crazy. It's fun. You see there's a deeper story that really needs to be told, but that's something we need to talk about later.
Yeah. So in next episode, we are going to dive into Time Bandits. We haven't decided if that's going to be a 1 or 2 part episode. We're going to see as we dive into the research and see what we find. But hey, thanks for joining us. If you enjoyed the podcast, if you like what you heard, please like, subscribe, leave a comment. Again, we'd always love to hear from you. Read your messages or whatever you want to say. Any suggestions on films you want us to do some research on, throw them out there. We'll eventually get to it. I mean, there's endless movies to discuss.
And no request is too weird. Joe and I love movies. If you give us something that we haven't seen or we're not familiar with, we'll definitely cover it. We'll go over what we find. We just want to...
I am familiar with everything.
He's familiar with everything. But we want to interact with you guys. We want to know what you're thinking. You got to take these first couple episodes with a grain of salt. We're used to typing, not podcasting.
We are still getting started. So we know there are hiccups. We know that there is some fine tuning in these things. And we know that that's going to happen as we keep going along, as we keep pushing ourselves and doing these podcasts. Things are going to get a lot smoother and a lot better. At least that's what we hope.
Guests coming on. We've got plans for this podcast. We're going to have guests. We're going to have writers from the site. It's going to be fun, guys. Stick with us. We're going to try to hit everything we can, but we can only do it with your support. So
we're just getting started.
Exactly. Don't miss out.
So thank you, everybody.
Subscribe, comment. We love you. Thank you for everything.
Yep. Have a great day or night, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.